Hey guys, this is Matt and welcome back to my garage. So I got a couple hours free tonight, so I'm going to see if I can go ahead and get this dash out. I also received my rear trim pieces today, so I'm going to go ahead and try to get the rest of my JDM trim out, get the seat belts out and all that good stuff. So I've already done a lot of the work with getting the dash ready to get out of the car by getting all the trim out, but I did have a viewer ask me if I'd go into a little bit more depth on removing the dash. So I thought that was a reasonable request, so I'm going to show you guys a little bit of step-by-step on how to get this out. But if you were starting from scratch and didn't have any of the interior out of your car, the first step is going to be pulling off the end caps off both sides of your dash, because that's going to expose some of the bolts that we need to take out. Just work the edges with a trim tool, and those basically just pop off. Any of the pieces around the steering wheel usually has like 2 screws you pull out. They're real easy to find, and again, those will just pop off. And then getting out the HVAC bezel, the radio, all that stuff. Again, just work your way around the edges. You'll find any of the fasteners that are in there, and then pop those trim pieces off. Really, the last things I need to do in preparation of getting the dash out is I want to go ahead and take the shifter out, because that's going to give us some clearance for once we get the dash loose, pulling it out. And I'm going to go ahead and take the mirror off, the rear view mirror, just to go ahead and give me some extra clearance so that as I'm pulling the dash out, I don't clip it and damage it or anything like that. So first step is going to get the shifter off and get that rear view mirror off. So I know this isn't going to be the best angle for you guys to see around the parking brake, but I'm going to go ahead and get the shifter off first. Basically, there's 4 10mm nuts, one on each corner of this rubber gasket. So I'm going to go ahead and get those removed. Where there was a fire right here in this car, looks like a lot of the shifter parts were burnt and melted, some of the plastic trim and seals. So I'll have to be careful getting this off, but it looks like there's 3 10mm nuts that need to come off. So it looks like my shifter just got cooked in that fire. So I may have to track down some more parts that I don't have available. I'll show you guys in a second. But I made a little bit of a mess, so I'm just gonna light this up. And then I'm just gonna stuff a paper towel in here to stop debris and crap from getting down in here. So I have some of the pieces to rebuild the shifter, but I may not have everything here that needs to be replaced. There's quite a bit of whatever seal that is completely melted. I'll need to go look in my parts pile and see what I've got, but looks like I'm gonna need to order some more parts tonight. Removing the mirror is relatively easy. There's a Phillips head screw right in the center of the it'd be hard to show you from that angle, but right here there's a hole in the post that holds the mirror to the windshield, and inside there is a Phillips head screw that you loosen, and the mirror will just basically slide off after that. So once that's loose enough, I mean, it literally just comes right off. That gets everything mostly out of my way, but next I need to get the vents off that are up by the windshield, because one of the fasteners that holds the dash on is hidden behind those vents. So I'll show you that here in a second. You definitely don't have to take the defrost vents out completely. You just need to get that center little trim cover off, because that'll expose the bolt that's right there. But I'm replacing mine, and so I just went and took them out. But again, you don't have to if yours are in good condition. Actually, I'd probably advise against it because I broke a few of the little tabs trying to get mine out, but again, I'm replacing them, so not a big deal, but you don't have to remove those. So other than the bolt that's, you know, dead center in the dash, you've got a couple of bolts on each side. So hopefully you can see that, but there's one bolt there and one bolt there. And then you want to go ahead and remove the bolts holding the steering onto the dash. There's one on each side, so you remove those. And then over here, you've got 2 bolts on the tranny tunnel. So really, those will occur essentially on both sides, whether you have left-hand drive, right-hand drive, it's pretty much the same. So once you've gotten all those bolts out, at that point, it really should be able to be pulled out. Now you've got to be careful with the harnesses and feeding all the, you know, loose wires and stuff through there as you're pulling it out, disconnecting the vents, and there's probably a few wires that are connected and things. So I'm gonna get these bolts out, and then once I have everything out loose, then I'll put you guys back on the tripod so that you can see the process of actually lifting the dash out of the car. So I have all those bolts off and everything feels loose, so I don't think we have anything rigidly connected. There might be some wires still connected. So like I was saying, I think, you know, just being careful and fishing all these connectors, all these wires back through the dash as you're pulling it out. And really, this probably is better off being a 2-person job, but I just got me tonight, so we'll make it happen. So really, we just want to take our time and start lifting the dash up and over the steering column and get it clear of the tranny cover. And like I said, I may end up having to take this e-brake off, but for now I'm just going to wing it and see if I can get up and over it. One thing I would recommend is taking a photograph of the dash before you pull it out. That way you know exactly where each of the little connectors kind of fish through the dash. And really, you're going to want to be very careful because, for example, on this side, there's lots of little connectors, and so you don't want to just go pulling the dash and accidentally damage one of those. So I'm going to start on this side, which is passenger side of my car, and start disconnecting anything I can find, and then, you know, kind of work my way that way. But it also seems like the A-pillar trim may want to come off because, you know, on this side it was kind of snagged on that trim, but if you pull hard enough it'll come out. But it seemed like there was some interference with that trim. I'm going to try to get all this disconnected, and then I'll show you guys, you know, where some of the connectors are at. So I just have the dash pulled out a couple of inches. I just, you know, enough to make sure everything's moving. So on the passenger side on my car, there's these 3 connectors that you'll want to go ahead and disconnect. They're just you know, you push the tab in the center, lift out, and 2 of them connect into here, and then one of them connects up here underneath the dash. So I think I have this side, you know, it's loose. There might be a few miscellaneous connectors on the in the middle that need to come out. And then on the driver's side, so far the only thing I've disconnected additional from what I showed you previously was the hood release. There's just 2 10mm bolts. You just drop those out, and then that just is going to hang loose. And again, you just got to kind of work this around the A-pillar trim. It kind of feels like it gets stuck, but if you kind of wiggle it hard enough, eventually it just kind of comes out. So really at this point it's going to be, you know, just moving the dash a little bit at a time. Basically, you know, the biggest obstacle is going to be getting it up and over the steering column. I'll put you on the tripod, and then I'll keep working on trying to get this area removed. So here's the dash just kind of moved a couple of inches away from the windshield, and I'm on the right hand side, but there's two more connectors right here. These you'll have to reach up from below, basically just above the hood release cable, but there's two connectors there that have got to come off. And then I believe I see another one. I won't be able to really show you in the camera, but I think there's another one right there. And I think I've got all those off. So I'm gonna pull these two connectors out, see about this third one. And then I'll see if we've disconnected everything, that this should just be able to lift up and out of the car. And that third connector I saw was this one, and it actually goes straight down. Looks like it connects into the top of the fuse panel, but basically that was a third connection, and then these were the two I was showing you that go right here. I've looked down through there, I don't see anything else, you know, going from the dash to the firewall. So all told, you had the three electrical connections here, three electrical connections on the other side, plus the hood release cable, and then the four bolts on this side, 4 bolts on that side, and the one in the center. At least for what's in my car, that was the only, you know, things I needed to disconnect. So it wasn't essential to take the parking brake off. I was able to get it up and over, but I would say taking that off gives you a little bit more room to work. So that's at your own discretion, but you can get it off without taking the lever and the boot off. You know, I've got some more of the carpet I've got to get removed and get cleaned up. That was part of the fire damage. And, you know, just so you guys can see better, you know, these are the two connectors that go into the back right behind where the cluster is. That's what's left of the, so this, you can remove this without taking this off, but it's just easier for me to go ahead and take that off. The other connector, which is actually still attached to the back of the dash, went straight down and connected just above the fuse panel. And then you've got the 3 blue connectors over there, and that seems to be all I had in my car. Now, there definitely could be more, like if you've got the antennas, all that kind of stuff still wired in, you could still have a few more connectors that maybe I didn't have. But for the most part, just work your way through it. Once you get pulled out a couple of inches, you can look down through the windshield and see where you've got connection. So it's not that bad. And just so you can see the passenger side, you know, there's all the connectors and all that stuff. So I think that's where I'm going to leave it for tonight. I've made a mess in the garage and I've got to get cleaned up. I've got an early morning tomorrow. I'm not going to worry about taking the rear B-pillar trims off or anything like that right now. That's super easy. That's nothing too complicated. But if I wasn't filming and I had an extra set of hands, you know, this is something that could have been done in like 30 minutes or less. I mean, it's just, you know, working your way through, making sure you get all those connections out. It's really the most complicated part. When in doubt, look at the factory service manual. Factory service manual for the RX7s online are actually really accurate and really helpful, unlike some cars that I've seen before. Like I mentioned in my last video, I need to get these floor pans straightened out. I need to get all this cleaned up. I mean, it's actually not as bad as I thought it was gonna be, but there is a lot of powder and dust and probably a lot of these foam that kind of seal up around the heater and the air conditioning vents and all that kind of stuff. I'm gonna go through here and see if there's anything that I need to replace. I need to go ahead and order. But for now, I need to focus on getting that last of that burnt carpet out, getting the floor pan straightened out, and then the dash itself probably needs a good cleaning, and I need to go through it and see again what there might be some parts. There is some steel support structure inside the dash, and mine's actually quite rusty. So I'm gonna see if that's complicated to remove. And if it isn't, I might take it off, clean it up, and spray it black or something just to give it some protection, because it is quite nasty, all that loose rust everywhere. I hope you guys found this video at least somewhat helpful. You know, not everybody owns an RX-7, I get that, but maybe the concepts apply to most other cars out there. Just find all the fasteners that are actually connecting the dash to the vehicle, and then slowly start removing the dash and finding all the electrical connections and you know, anything that might be holding the dash in, you know, just go slow. make sure to look behind it as you can, and you should be able to get the rest of that off. Removing a dash always seems scary, especially if you don't work on cars a lot, but at the end of the day, it's just taking your time and being patient, and you can get through it. It's not a big deal. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. And if you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. And hopefully the next video we can make a lot more progress. I will have sorted out some of the smaller issues, and I'll cover all that. And I should have the last of my parts delivered hopefully in the next couple days. So I should have everything I need to get everything back in this car. So progress should happen pretty quickly. But thank you guys for watching. I'm going to catch you guys next time.